You check your accounts after dinner. The number should feel reassuring. Instead, your chest tightens. 35 sounded farther away when you were 25. Now the milestone has a face. 100,000. Not because you need it tonight. Because you think you should already have it. That is the trap. You turn a milestone into a verdict. You are not really asking about a balance. You are asking whether your last decade was enough. That question feels financial, but it is deeply emotional. It touches regret, comparison, pride, and quiet fear. And here is the uncomfortable truth. 100,000 by 35 is solid, but it is not normal everywhere. It usually shows timing more than talent. Start date, savings rate, housing cost, and debt history matter more. If you started investing at 24, compounding had room. If you started at 32, the same discipline looks smaller. If your 20s carried loans, high rent, or family support, your runway shortened. That is math, not failure. If two incomes stayed steady for years, the milestone arrived faster. If income kept changing, consistency got interrupted. So the real question is not how many have it. The real question is what built the number. Because one clean number can hide two completely different stories. One is durable progress and one is fragile appearance. You can have 80,000 and be building real wealth. You can have 100,000 and still feel squeezed. Healthy progress creates margin, calm, and repeatable investing. Trap progress creates screenshots, pressure, and a life that needs feeding. That distinction matters more than the milestone itself. The milestone can flatter you or discourage you without context. A quiet saver with modest housing can be stronger than a flashy earner. Cash flow discipline often beats visible success. That is why this topic stings so much. The number feels like a report card on adulthood. But adulthood is expensive in ways milestone culture ignores. Rent, weddings, moves, children, caregiving, and repairs all demand years. You can do many responsible things and still miss six figures. Responsibility and visible progress do not always align. And that is where unconscious spending sneaks in. It offers relief while quietly extending the timeline. Most trap spending does not look reckless at first. It looks earned, reasonable, and completely in character. A nicer vehicle feels justified after stressful work. A bigger house feels responsible because it looks stable. Better furniture feels mature. Frequent dinners out feel harmless until repetition quietly turns convenience into a long, expensive habit. But monthly comfort compounds too. A $1,200 lifestyle drift can quietly swallow a future milestone. Over 10 years, that drift can exceed 100,000, and that is before investment growth even enters. That is why lifestyle inflation is such a polished villain. It never arrives looking like self-sabotage. It arrives wearing the face of adulthood. It tells you your hard work should look better by now. You are not only buying things in that moment, you are buying proof that your effort means something. That emotional need is real. But spending rarely translates meaning well, and the relief usually fades faster than expected. A healthy purchase supports your actual life. Trap spending performs your identity back to you. Healthy spending buys time, peace, or genuine enjoyment. Trap spending buys momentary relief from pressure you have not named. That pressure is often invisible. It can be shame about starting late or fear of falling behind. It can be the sting of watching peers seem settled. It can be the exhaustion of always feeling almost there. Ask about 100,000 by 35, and something softer sits beneath it. You are asking if time favors you. Am I late in a way that matters? Did I miss a window I was supposed to catch? My answer is calmer than panic and harsher than fantasy. Fewer have it than you think, and more could. That sounds slippery, but it is honest. The milestone is uncommon enough to be meaningful, yet reachable with structure. It is reachable fastest through boring years. Regular contributions matter more than exciting decisions almost every time. If you save $1,000 a month for years, the number changes. If you save $2,000, it changes faster. If you keep raising spending with every income bump, progress blurs. Income growth alone rarely rescues a leaky system. That is why your savings rate deserves more attention than your headline balance. Right reveals behavior when balances feel confusing. A rising balance can come from market luck. A rising savings rate comes from choices you can repeat. This is the advanced nuance most conversations miss. Liquidity and margin matter as much as milestone totals. If your money exists only in retirement accounts, daily life can still feel tight. That tension changes how you behave. Thin margin makes small surprises feel personal. It makes a repair bill feel like evidence you are losing. Then you pause investing, dip into savings, or reward yourself impulsively. Scarcity starts driving decisions even on decent income. That's why 100,000 can create false security. You hit it, relax, and stop protecting the system. Wealth thresholds are not trophies. They are pressure tests, and they expose whether your habits can survive harder seasons. Can you keep investing during a bad year? Can you hold the line when life becomes expensive again? Can you stay steady when the market falls? Can you resist inflating your life just because you crossed a line? Those questions matter more than the screenshot. They tell you whether the milestone is a floor or a temporary peak. Maybe your real wound is not greed. Maybe it is regret about how late you feel. That wound makes you vulnerable to extremes. You either freeze completely or try to make up time dramatically. Both reactions are expensive. Freezing wastes time, and overcorrecting usually builds a newer, shinier version of the same stress. A calmer path is usually stronger. Build a system your future self can actually keep. That might mean automating $1,500 a month. It might mean starting with $500 and increasing quarterly. It might mean cutting $800 from fixed expenses first. Lower overhead often matters more than heroic motivation. It might mean refusing the upgrade everybody expects. Quiet restraint can be wealth-building even when it feels socially awkward. If this is landing for you, pause for a second. Where are you honestly right now? Maybe you're under 10,000. Maybe you're between 10 and 50, or already above 100. Leave a comment with your range, or just say started late. Your honesty might steady someone else tonight. If shame has kept you silent, say that too. Naming it is often the beginning of control. And if you are doing well, say what actually helped. A real story helps more than polished posturing. Now let me show you something steadier. It matters more than comparing yourself with an imaginary national scoreboard. First, total the right buckets together. Retirement, brokerage, and long-term cash should all be seen clearly. Do not count money meant for next month's bills. That only creates false confidence and fragile decisions. Second, track your annual contribution amount beside the balance. The contribution number tells the cleaner story. If you added 12,000 last year, that matters. It proves the machine is finally moving. Third, separate emergency money from wealth-building money emotionally. They serve different jobs, and confusion slows both. Emergency cash protects your nervous system. Investments build future freedom through time, patience, and staying invested. When those jobs blur together, volatility feels like danger. Then you hold too much cash for too long. Fourth, audit fixed costs like they are permanent employees. Every monthly bill wants decades of future labor. That framing changes spending immediately. It turns a lifestyle upgrade into a recurring contract with your time. A higher car payment is not one choice. It is years of required cash flow. An oversized mortgage is not just a bigger room. It is reduced flexibility when income or energy changes. Fifth, measure housing honestly. Housing can support your life, or it can consume your investing years. If your payment leaves little room after essentials, the house is costing more than it appears. That shows up later. Sixth, look for identity spending hiding inside respectable categories. This is where many disciplined earners get stuck. The purchase sounds practical on the surface. Underneath, it is asking money to heal insecurity. That never works for long. The relief fades, and the monthly payment keeps asking for more of you. A healthier move is buying back margin instead. Margin gives you relief without demanding more maintenance later. That could mean smaller housing, one less vehicle, fewer subscriptions, or simpler vacations. Boring choices often create beautiful freedom. If you share money with a partner, this matters even more. Silence can become a hidden financial leak. When you've not talked about money in months, assumptions multiply. One person thinks reward while the other sees danger. If you handle money alone, the trap changes shape. Without accountability, drift can start feeling completely normal. That is why 100,000 should never be your only benchmark. A better scorecard has 4 parts. How much do you save monthly? How stable are your income, spending, and fixed obligations when pressure arrives? How exposed are you to one bad surprise? And how low are your fixed obligations? If those 4 keep improving, your trajectory is healthier than it feels. Trajectory matters because wealth compounds through direction. And if you already have 100,000, stay humble. The next trap is protecting the identity of being ahead. That trap makes you perform security instead of building it. You start maintaining appearances rather than increasing options. You keep the expensive house because downsizing feels embarrassing. You keep overspending because your image now expects it. That is still insecurity. It simply looks polished because the stress is hidden behind a higher standard of living. Real confidence is quieter than that. It lets you choose less without feeling like less. It lets you say this payment is too high. It lets you delay upgrades and protect tomorrow. So no, 100,000 at 35 is not magic. It is simply where compounding becomes more emotionally visible. And no, being below that number does not mean doomed. It means your next decade deserves more intention. If you have 5,000, build the first repeatable system. If you have 40,000, protect momentum and cut leaks. If you have 90,000, do not coast. Make sure the milestone becomes a stable floor. The deeper revelation is this: your habits matter more than your age once honesty enters the room. 2 people can both be 35 tonight. One is financing a lifestyle, and one is buying future options. One needs high income forever just to stay afloat. One is slowly making life cheaper to carry. That is what saved money really buys. It buys room, and room changes how you experience every problem. Room to think clearly. Room to absorb shocks. Room to choose before fear starts driving the decision. By 35, your patterns start hardening into architecture. You can still redesign them, but the walls get heavier. So tonight, add up your real long-term savings. Then, ask what pattern created that number. Ask what would happen if you lowered one fixed cost. Ask what would happen if contributions became automatic. Ask what future you are funding with today's routine. That question is worth more than a clean milestone. Panic stares at the scoreboard. Wisdom studies the habits, costs, and routines quietly producing that score. When you finally study the system, shame begins losing its grip. Your number becomes information instead of identity. That is where real change starts. Not when the balance looks impressive, but when your pattern turns intentional. If this helped you breathe and think more clearly, hit like. It helps this channel reach someone quietly struggling. Subscribe and turn on the bell if you want more calm, honest money conversations. I will keep telling you truthfully. And leave a comment telling me which card hit hardest, or where your savings stand today. Your honesty matters here. Thank you for being here and doing the inner work. That work matters more than flashy financial theater. A money life gets stronger when fear loses its script. Clarity replaces panic, and steady action replaces shame. In the next video, I break down the retirement number that sounds safe but leaves you exposed. Watch that next.